Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. And that's pretty much almost 400 episodes worth. So thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so very, very much. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, for the contribution of his music, his voice, of course, for this beautiful intro that you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does phenomenal commission pieces, including pets, by the way. Yes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, tonight we welcome the return of Dr. Darryll Walsh, who's going to be discussing Victorian Christmas traditions, ghost stories, especially. This is a really big thing in Victorian times, and 'tis the season. So I think we're going to step back in time a little bit, and Darryll's just going to wow us all with some of his knowledge and information. So very, very exciting. So Bubbles, how's it going?
Hi.
Oh, it's big day. Yeah, I hear you.
I just have one thing to say. If you don't need to be out, don't be. That's all I'm saying. If you don't need to be driving, don't be driving. If you want to save your life, don't be out there.
Next few days. Don't do it.
No, don't do it. That's all I'm saying. I've nearly died quite a few times in the last 2 days. Hi, Janie. And it's eye-opening and a reminder of why I'm never out at this time of the year. I'm usually just hermit.
Aren't you supposed to just be like kind of like
Merry Christmas
jolly
time.
And like happy like at this time of year?
No, they're grumpy and if you're hosting right now, like if you're hosting Christmas from now until that day, you're running like a chicken without a head. But remember that other people, be kind to them. You might be the only person they're speaking to between now and then.
I'm seeing some gang hostilities out there.
Yeah.
Every freaking man for himself. People are fighting over parking spots. People are fighting over carts. People are just fighting. People aren't paying attention at all. They've got like tunnel vision. And don't get me wrong, there's some amazing people in the spirit, but it just seems to be that there's a lot of people who are I get it. This is not always a good time of year for everybody else or for everybody.
No, but the grumpy ones aren't the ones that have a bad time right now. The grumpy ones are the ones that are hosting. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Sean's in the public sector too. There's a lot of dumb questions.
Yeah.
Well, customers always right. Always.
Yeah. Well. I have one more public customer day on Saturday, and then I'm done for this. Thank God I only had 2 days. But I'm blessed and fortunate that our customers, our clients are so kind. John tends to deal with the other side of things because with the big stores, but I get to deal with the public, which is different.
Right.
But be kind, please.
Be nice.
And watch where you're driving, because I can't tell you how many times I almost died in the last 24 hours. I'm finding a lot of people who are distracted. Get off your damn phone. I don't know about the US, but I'm going to tell you in Ontario, Canada, you can have your license suspended. It's a $600 fine. They will take your license for days and impound your car. get off your damn phone. Nothing is that important. And if you hit someone and you kill them, come on,
it's
get
really
off your
bad out
phone.
there. I'm seeing so many accidents right now.
Yeah,
because people are really in a hurry, and the highways are very congested. You're sharing it with a lot more people than
yeah, you're on the
perhaps you
highway all the
normally
time.
with. Yeah, so
Yeah,
things are getting a little bit crazy, and we always have to be very diligent of the fact that we're not alone on the roads. So with that being said,
yeah.
I'm really hoping
Anyway,
that
happy holidays.
yeah. Oh, we just like full of buttercups and rainbows.
When I'm out, it's all the time. I'm always Michelle can tell. I'm always I'm always smiling at everyone. I'm not known to be. I don't have RBF at all. I'm always smiling. I talk to anyone who's in front of me. She can attest to that as well. It's just one time I was in a particular craft store. I won't mention the name. And literally, I spoke to myself 3 people times, right, to myself.
Right.
Does anybody work here?
Right. Right.
Just be kind.
No, nobody.
Be kind, please.
Right.
Be kind. It's a beautiful time of year. The year is ending. We're starting fresh and anew. And the only way we can do that is by raising that vibration. And if you're miserable out there, you're not helping. Be kind. You could be the last person someone sees. Don't let that be their last memory.
This is true. I've helped a lot of people in accidents, car rollovers over the years. Yeah. It's been,
don't do it. The scariest thing is hurting someone else when you're driving. You don't want to live with that. So please just pay attention and focus.
Right. Listen
That's
to
all
Bubbles.
I'm saying.
And with that being said,
yay.
I don't know what you are doing with this name. Hello, Darryll.
Hello.
Oh, we can't hear you. You're frozen.
All
right, there you are.
I'm trying. There we are.
Yeah.
You can't hear.
You're cutting out.
Yeah, cutting out big time.
Now, if you talk. Oh, for God's sake.
You guys got a storm out there?
See, my.
We're not hearing you.
Maybe drop out and come back.
In the show.
No, you're in the show.
I did that. So I had to use. Yeah. I had to use the backup computer, so its audio might be kind of shitty. But I will try the other one again. Just slow
Wi-Fi, but we're hearing you now. I think.
Okay.
He's got to change his name too.
He's all right.
Oh my God! It's supposed to be capital A, analytical parapsychologist. Oh, there I am.
Well, you got part of the letters.
I'm like, okay.
I'm like, yeah, no.
I know. Are you on Chrome?
God, no.
I know, but StreamYard has hiccups with a lot of platforms.
Yeah, the browser has to be Chrome.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but it helps.
It should be.
The one with the least amount of hiccups.
It was fine. It was fine Tuesday. I used Steam Tuesday. I had a interview.
Yeah.
And,
you were on Science and Behind. So, best name ever.
That's our Darryll.
Well, yeah, I mean, we hear you, but you're kind of in and out. We can sort of like wing it if you prefer. I know.
Well, I know. Let's see if I can do this.
Okay. Well, we've got you here, but it says device not connected.
Okay.
You're showing not connected. I know.
Unmute. Yeah, we'll do that. But first I have to get in.
That's
disturbing. Probably use your cell phone as well. If it's easier, we don't have to rely on the Wi-Fi. I don't know. There's going to be 3 streams coming in, but your other one that just came in is showing not connected to the device.
Okay.
Maybe it's Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
I know. I know what you're going to say.
I was waiting for a different response.
I know. It's Darryll after all.
I'm just angry because nothing went right.
To you.
It's like an angry kind of day, isn't it?
He's an angry elf.
Well, it's been a week and a half angry, so
I'm with you there, brother.
Frustration more than anything else. Yes. The browser blocked your mic and camera. To join the studio, edit your browser settings.
To permit it.
Well, we're getting you for the most part.
Yeah. What do I even have on here? Oh, that stupid Edge.
Well,
you're not frozen
Edge
right
is very
now.
Problematic for the most part, but we can kind of wing it.
Firefox.
We're getting you a little bit better now. Yeah, we're getting you now. It might be a bit of a delay.
Now, I wonder, browser, but there's ways for me to actually do anything, but that's fine. If you're getting most of it, that's fine.
It will work out, no problem.
So you can proceed.
There we go. People can hear you. That's what matters.
As long as we're not speaking when you're speaking, you'll be fine. Yeah,
so well, yeah, the name is the best though. People are rocking that one. So, well, welcome to the show, Frustrated Darryll. We were just talking about all the frustrations and the angst that Amelia and I were going through.
You've got to change that to an analytical parapsychologist.
It just fits with the day today. I'm just saying.
Oh.
I know. So.
Oh my God! Well, it's December, and that's what happens.
Last minute shoppers. Shame on all of you.
Here's the internet. Like me. Shopping in August.
Like
I know.
Me, done in October.
But you know what? I was really excited initially when you recommended this topic for a show the last time you were on with Elliot, and because it is a season, and I think they had it together back in the day with the ghost story. So where do you want to start with this? I'm going to let you just take this and we'll keep up. No problem. I promise.
Okay. Homo neanderthalis. In other words, Neanderthals. That's where I want to start with it.
Okay. I'll bite.
Yes. Christmas stories?
Listen, probably just because of what later people did. And people were able to find the solstice, which I find amazing, even thousands of years ago. But anyway, with the Neanderthals, they were buried with various tools and jewelry and symbolistic things, things that were seen to indicate something special to the person. Right. So we do know that, December 21st, it's really, it's the longest night of the year. Now, this is where it splits a little bit, because if we go back and we ignore the ancient, God, I can't make up my own notes. Romans, I want to say. Yeah. Anyway, what happened was there was a split. Halloween went one way, Christmas traditions and stories went the other. And so, especially England, it really, really caught on. And there's two most reasons. One, the media needed to have something quick, short, exciting that they could put in their periodical, just how they acted through Jack the Ripper, right. And they just did all that stuff. And anyway, the other one, the other people split, just went to Halloween and no Christmas at all. No, did I get that backwards? Did I get that backwards?
Some people believe that the veil is actually the thinnest at Christmas and not at Halloween. Some traditions, some cultures.
I've read and seen so much now on Christmas traditions and ghosts and all that. And I mean, there's at least 25 monsters, very similar to Krampus. And I mean, but this all happened because it was the longest day of the year. But December 25th was the first time you noticed the sun is a little higher in the sky and it's just a tiny bit brighter. So the Romans had it's Latin.
Yeah.
Saturni. I think listen, I apologize ahead to Germans, the Slavics, whoever created that stupid Saturn.
Sorry. My phone just like.
You mean Saturnalia?
Thank you. Thank you.
The Romans. Yes.
Thank you, Daryl.
I know a thing or two.
The same with the Greeks, and the thing is, I mean, a lot of it was, like I said, Halloween was in with us, with Christmas time. And so therefore, I mean, a lot of the things people did in Halloween in ancient times carried on, and were at that time connected to religion, caroling, wassailing, the dead taking fire out of your house to go to some location, maybe a graveyard, maybe a symbolic hill. And then you take the fire up there. The bad spirits are supposed to follow you. You pick a big bonfire, and I guess they get so excited about the bonfire, they don't notice as you relight your thing and go back down to your place of abode. And because Halloween is supposed to be the time that the dead can walk the earth. Now they can also do it at Christmas time, but so that's why they didn't want the spirits or anybody that might be walking around that shouldn't be walking around, because vampires are mixed in with this as well. And so this got transferred along, and it ended up on December 25th. Along comes the Romans. And so Romano-British people just kind of said, yeah, that sounds good. We'll keep that. And it was, it's Celtic, or before. There's certainly before after Stonehenge. The Celts, there's thousands of years between the different peoples in the United Kingdom. So, but I mean, things are a little bit, changed between. But I'm just fascinated by the idea, while I was waiting, of going, how far back does this go? And if Neanderthals were, spiritual, which it looks like, that's an interesting question for some people, some anthropologists.
That is super fascinating to think it goes that far back, because we know a lot of the, the pagans and the Druids, and like we know that part of ancient culture. Like probably, obviously post Ice Age, but to go before that, like, how would you know? How do they know that the Neanderthals were like the spiritual people?
Because of the way they buried their dead, and the fact that they buried their dead.
Right.
Most groups had fire, so may have cremated. That's still alive today in some obscure cultist kind of thing. And so and they also found spiritual objects that looked like other objects or similar objects of a religious nature. And then they found things for the afterlife, things that they would need: food, a blade, a shovel, whatever they, Xbox.
Basic essentials. Yeah.
Basic essentials. And then once they were over there, because once they were over there, you see, there's the definition of hell. Hell really doesn't exist, but it's been a good way to, just like the Christmas monster, it's a good way to keep people in line. But anyway, so this was way before even Satan was even thought about. And so anyway, they buried them with enough stuff for the afterlife. So they believe that when we die, some part of us goes on. And that's around that time began the Hades and all that, about their, they start with an afterlife with their religions. And, but you see that everybody's naturally drawn to Christmas Christmas time, because it's the darkest time of the year. Now, for the Celts, Halloween is the end of the year, and November 1st is the beginning. For a lot of other pagan groups, it's December 25th, and always was. And all the church did was just take over the date and create Jesus Christ. But there's also things that happen on Boxing Day, on Epiphany, which is the 7th of January. So there's often sacrifices and ceremonies even after. And I should find out what they are, because I'm always bored to tears after Christmas. I've had the turkey. I got my gifts.
There's still a turkey comb after that. Yeah. Right.
I need a toy. But actually, I did. The Victorians. So we go up to the Victorians now. The Victorians. That's a fascinating reason why they got into this business.
Yeah.
The Victorians were just obsessed with death, and that's why they were afraid of premature burial and all that. And
a lot of them were buried alive.
Oh, yes, some of them were. They dug up graves, and I just listened to a documentary, and the person had moved on their side. So, and their hands were, scratched.
But that's where some of the best.
That's where the bell comes from.
Well, you had the Saved by the Bell, the graveyard shift, because they had to. But does anybody know how they knew people were buried alive?
Well, like I said, for somebody, they might have been either the relative alive. Maybe somebody is walking through the graveyard, thought they heard a voice or something.
How about grave robbers?
This wasn't
possibly
that too.
That's what it is. Because
bury them with
grave robbers would find scratch marks on the inside of the lids. How functional?
Definitely. I mean, it's so So I mean, there were various ways that they could be found and resurrected. And there's many times that they just were in a wake and people were, sitting around before the hearse would come. And they just sit up in bed and start talking normal. And they've been in a coma for days, so it's fascinating that they did that. But they were also so fascinated with ghosts and monsters and everything. And
table tipping and seances.
Yep. One thing people don't usually know is that in October and November in England, Victorian England, that's when they used to get servants. That's when servants used to kind of move around to different places and that. And new people would come into these, houses. They don't have a clue. They have all kinds of hidden stairwells and back doors and hallways. And so they're hearing noises. They're in a strange place, and they're already geared culturally to believe, because of the periodicals that began in the early 1800s, I think in the first 1810 or 1812 or something, 1812. And so they're reading this stuff. Then they go to this house, and if it looks the least bit creepy, well, there you go, you're off. But and that's when we first really start to notice. It's written, I should say, about Christmas. Charles Dickens, of course. He's the one. It might not have been so big, except for Charles Dickens. He created the Christmas idea.
Yes.
And then we took it and made it a secular commercial thing. It's no longer religious, so it's a secular commercial. So they actually did. It took them 100 years, but they actually managed to do that.
Yes. I think the whole, when you look at the stages in between everything, I don't even think people realize that Coca-Cola are the ones that invented the modern day Santa that we all know.
Yeah.
Like, what was that, in the 60s or 70s? Like, that's a Coca-Cola Santa we've all come to know and love.
Didn't the Germans start with Saint Nick, though? I mean, Saint Nick in the Catholic Church, but
he did not look like the jolly guy in the ring.
Oh, now,
right?
Yeah.
He was Saint Nicholas. That's right. Like, just with the staff.
Yes, Saint Nicholas.
In Italy,
Saint Nicholas wasn't a pure saint, actually. He would go.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to find. Where's my thing? I want to change the angle there.
I don't know. You have to log out, and when you come back in, you can change the name.
So anyway, he would bring other people with him, like Krampus,
right,
and other monsters. He would let the people that were good,
right. Cutting out. You just kind of went.
They pop up and say, but you won't allow innuendos and all that stuff. So yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. I'll let it go. People variations in the Slavic world. He was not Saint Nicholas in the Slavic areas. When he started to move into Central Europe, he brought along, Krampus, you name them, the tap thing that I can't pronounce most of them. I cannot pronounce most of them, but there's two of them in Iceland and all. Yes.
There were all kinds of them, weren't there? Like, wasn't there like a serial killer butcher in France? Like, they called him Father Whipper, something like that.
Oh my God.
No, these are actual people that this time of year, like, they would put the fear of God into you or little kids. And in fact, Italy, I think, had was known as La Befana.
She's not a witch. Right? She's not a witch. I don't know why that's out there in Google. She came to give gifts to the children on the Epiphany, not Christmas.
Now, see, they mix it all in. That's what I think Daryl's trying to say is a lot of stuff sort of got mismatched and amalgamated. I can't even say that.
Yeah,
amalgamated.
You know, that whole Saint Nicholas thing drives me crazy because they say Saint Nicholas and then they refer to the Italians being a huge Catholic community, but the country of Italy calls it Babbo Natale, which is Father Christmas. They don't refer to him as Saint Nicholas.
Huh.
Although other people will talk and say, oh, it's Saint, because they just associate him with the church. And I'm like, no, it's Father Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't even take on Santa till years later. Because La Befana came in the Epiphany. And if you were good, you got fruit and treats. And if you weren't, she would leave you less. But she wasn't a witch. Everybody always wants to call her a witch. She was an old lady that just resembled that kind of thing. And it depends on what region you speak to and what Google search you do. Yeah.
Right.
Because my mother carried that tradition on with us. The Epiphany.
Yes, exactly.
That's also when you take your Christmas stuff down, your decoration.
Greece had the evil
Charles
goblins.
Dickens.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Charles Dickens. Sorry, we have a delay. That's that we're not trying to cut you off.
Charles Dickens is the guy. No, I noticed it. So Charles Dickens, because he published his very famous and well-regarded novella, being A Christmas Carol, he did that on Christmas Eve. And then he started doing he actually did other kind of creepy books and that, but mostly for, the little things that he did to, we'll forget him. Anyway, so he did that. And then another famous author, Why can't I remember him? Because I like him so much. M.R. James. Yes, I was M.R. James.
Want me to put that up?
He and him and Dickens are the two that became really the most prominent. What's that?
No, I have a picture whenever you want me to put it up. Go ahead. Keep going.
So anyway, yeah. So they put up a...
Can't hear you.
Oh my God, it's two witches and a dunce.
We can't hear you.
Well, this one is your fault.
What?
I'm just trying to muddle my way to figure out why I keep losing you. No. Hello, Daryll. I'm gone.
It might be better that he's out and comes back. Sorry, I cut you off there with Love Fun, because I actually had that conversation today with someone about that, and I'm like, oh my God, it drives me crazy because they talk about her as a witch and just not that. She was meant to put fear into children to behave, but she wasn't that creepy thing. And the whole St. Nicholas thing is so funny because they just associate him with
but
the
he's
church.
Supposed to be the kinder counterpart of Krampus if you get into all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I love the whole Victorian thing. I love the dark traditions, and I mean, they were so widely known for having their interest in the macabre. They love to attend their seances, picnic in cemeteries, things like that. But on Christmas Day, what was great about it was sort of linked to what was a pre-Christian solstice festivals. Because let's face it, like, they're pretty much just a few days, like 3-4 days apart. Yes. So a lot of this stuff would get blended in, and it was the solstice, the whole thing. I mean, we've done shows on the solstices and how, you're burning the fires, you're burning away like all of the previous years. You're just starting fresh again, and they would take the timber back after they've burnt it and all the ashes and spread it around their home to keep evil away. Like, there's so much about it, and it's been such a wide belief that the veil is actually thinnest this time of year, not actually at Halloween.
No, my mother taught me that when we've talked about that before. My parents used to pack a picnic lunch and go to the cemetery to visit my grandmother. And I remember this stuff from when I was little because I didn't go, I just remember her packing up and coffee, like everything, just a small little basket, and they would go together. And my dad, when my mom passed away, would often go and bring her lunch, and he'd eat and, of course, bring it back with him. But her birthday, he would bring her cake. Yeah, it's a different, it sounds bizarre to a lot of people, but it's just was tradition and culture for us.
Right.
It was normal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. It was so, it was just so different. Like, what we know today is considerably different than what we have been taught. I mean, the ancient traditions have been so, I would say, like, it's sad that it was forgotten, that it seemed just to be through a fad, because in Victorian times, instead of trading gifts, you would trade stories. Ghost stories, not just any story, but ghost stories. So they would get these cards as well. So they love the dead tradition of telling ghost stories, and this is how they would celebrate Christmas, and families would sit and exchange ghost stories as opposed to gifts. And what was really popular is they would get these really bizarre Christmas cards as well, and they were really
they're morbid. You can Google them.
They were really morbid because the idea was to just shock. Just having a shocking conversation piece, and it's just like, all right, but then there were certain things that were sacred, certain things that they just sort of ran with. But I also I delved like quite a bit into this, and we'll bring it up until Daryll can get back here. But let's talk about Santa ghostly sightings. Okay, they freaking exist. I'm certain. I'm going to read off
hilarious.
Of you. I went in to snag these from one of the Grey Zone shows.
Somebody's watching too much Krampus.
No, I started to think, what is he? Are we talking about a tulpa? Because let's face it.
Oh,
Santa is everybody talks about Santa.
Yes.
So here's a few sightings, okay? Here's a few tales.
And then everybody puts their children on his lap.
Okay, get ready for this. So there have been ghost stories of Santa himself going back as early as the 1950s, at least have been documented. So could it be a tulpa? Billions of people around the world believe he's real. Could all these people, hold on, we'll have to get back to that. Because I think Darryl made it back. Not anal Darryl, but really Darryl.
Cell phone.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
much better. We just lost you. We were just sitting there and you're just gone.
I forgot that I had a microphone.
Oh.
Now I can sound like somebody in the swinging 70s, singer,
I'm waiting for the karaoke to start.
The tinsel is helping.
Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, I mean, like I said before, these guys are the ones that created Christmas, or the Christmas tradition, I should say. And business created the Santa Claus thing and giving toys or giving presents and stuff like that. When I taught this 25 years ago, I had to put it into 1 3-hour class, and you have to have almost the traditions in one class and the monsters and stuff in another class. And if you can do that around Halloween, of course, so much the better. I used to do that. Have I hate wires. Sometimes they would.
I think Mercury's out to get you, Darryl.
Okay. Where was I going?
We're just following along best we can.
You mean physically or with your story?
Yeah, what? My story. Where was I? I remember. Yes. So yeah, I had if you can have a course like that around Halloween, that's perfect. Right. And so, but I never did. I did a thanatology. I taught thanatology, and what else did I teach? It was another one besides writing. Yeah, it's another one with and it's supernatural stuff. But anyway, that's so long ago. Right. And but yeah, you often see it in television shows that them having Christmas traditions of telling stories. It was in a book I read by I forget who they are actually, because it was a while ago. And sure enough, there was, you had to go if we go back again prior to the 1800s and the Victorians and that, the peoples of, let's say, Romano-British time, they would go dancing and singing and having quite the party and being very drunk. They would go door to door. And if you didn't open that door on Christmas, you were in bad stuff.
Oh no!
Blinders.
Yeah, and so yeah, so they would burst in sometimes, and there's even older things about doing that, but we don't have as much information on the older ones. But we have for the more modern ones, we have, and then they would be all drunk yahoos and everything, and they wanted to get more booze, of course, and maybe some snacks and so, that was their thing about Christmas. And so, there's been a lot of different vectors. There's been a lot of different vectors of Christmas traditions. And so it's came from different places all over. But I liked it when I heard about it.
It's really interesting because I think everybody just thinks 'twas the night before Christmas. But when you look at Charles Dickens and you look at oh my God, A Christmas Carol, it's Victorian times and it's creepy. That was like That and It's a Wonderful Life would be like my horror films during Christmas, without Krampus, because of course I wasn't introduced to that on television as a child. But those were like my horror films, Wizard of Oz, that kind of stuff. But yeah, like when you're little and your parents think it's okay to watch, but meanwhile you can't sleep because you just watched A Christmas Carol and you keep thinking the ghost of Christmas past is going to come and get you, or the future is going to bring you to see your grave. Did they tell stories like that? Is that where Dickens got that from?
Well, Dickens was not as well known as a progressive person trying to get better wages, better living conditions, and all that in England. But his later books did mention it, as well as M.R. James did. And through the 1800s was this huge. Not only was it a huge explosion of ghosts, there was also a huge explosion of caring for people who, were not as fortunate as they were. And yeah, so that weaves through, and you actually see that in the 1951 Alistair Sim one, where he goes to see.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, he goes to see, and it's Beth Bell, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And I've watched them all. So it's something, they change the names often. And so he, then he repents in that. Personally, for horror, you can't, it has to be George C. Scott at the beginning. Yes. Because he's got the ghostly carriage coming through, that his name is ghostly called. When he's walking home down there's that fence there, and that music that he has, and I have music as well. And
he's familiar in the horror genre. I mean, with the Changeling and that. So
yeah,
you expect that from him, and then you get that extra creep factor when you see him.
Exactly. They still have Ebenezer Scrooge's grave in Shrewsbury in England.
For real?
For the film, there was a big coffin made, and I don't even know what film it was. But anywho, we're still on A Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol, yeah.
Yeah, I have a back sciatica, so I took a muscle relaxant. And
so I have the hip sciatica. I understand your pain.
Be patient with me, because
that's okay. I have no trouble correcting a man.
I'm just not myself today, but anyway,
that's okay.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah. Now the second one is not the happy-go-lucky, one of 1938 with. Buddy who also played Holmes in the 1932 and 34, I think. Anyway, whoever he can't remember his name for my life. Anyway, that was made in Hollywood, and it's seen as the most it runs through, it drops most of the main
story,
main story
and the horror.
So yeah, so that one is often seen, but it's very cheerful.
It loses
61 minutes, I think. It's very cheerful, and you're with the family. You see all the kids being all excited and everything, and that's great. And so I like that one. I like Alistair Sim, which I watch Christmas only.
My favorite.
Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve rather. Yep. And George C. Scott's, but we have to talk about the 2019 one. They actually reference that in the film, Christmas Time and Joke Time. So the 2009 one with Buddy, what's his name? Pierce.
Jim Carrey. Oh, I didn't see that one.
A lot of people really didn't like it because it's very dark and scary all the way through. The Ghost of Christmas Past is he just I think he's Sean Connery's son. Anyway, he is just evil, period. And but the first one can change into different, A Christmas Past can change into different things from his past. So of course they brought back his father, which is abusive, and that brings me to why people don't like that one so much, because it's a character study. The first time I watched it, I didn't like it. Second time I watched it, I realized he is mentally ill. He's got generalized anxiety disorder, depressive disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and whatever disorder they call for, whatever they call for childhood abuse. So yeah, he's that way for very good reasons, actually. But you really see it when he's writing in his book how many times the guy drove by the window or somebody shouted, and he knew the times that they would come. And in the middle, the present, his sister comes. They send his sister, and she and they talk about that. And so it's that one is very, very good. And it's my second favorite, or it might be my favorite, depending on my mood. That or George C. Scott. But I like the other ones. I like all the other ones. And I've managed to get 1901.
I love Alistair Sims. He's my... Yeah,
he did play that very well. Yeah, he did. He was believable.
He was a little bit easier to swallow. He's a scary character, and you really, when he was on, you really feel for like Tiny Tim and the family, and it's just the Cratchits. It's just different.
Yep.
But
have you watched it in color?
I've seen them both, but I prefer the black and white.
Yeah.
Just like It's a Wonderful Life. It used to freak me out as a child, even though it was angels. He did try to kill himself. He jumped off. He wanted to jump off a bridge, right? You've never seen it, Michelle?
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
I've seen them. Yeah.
Oh no, you weren't surprised. I'm like, what?
No, and I haven't seen that in like probably since I was a child. And we won't even talk about how long ago that was.
You would have lost me on screen, and you would have heard. In 20 minutes. Let's go watch it now.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. No. Yeah, but think about what it did to children. He's trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's scary for a kid to think that their father made a mistake at work and he feels responsible and he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
That's a strange thing to have at Christmas.
All right in Victorian times.
Oh, do you know what
that was sunshine compared to what they did.
Which one?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, you go.
Okay. Do you know what else they did on Christmas Eve, or as close to Christmas as they could get? One of the traditions is sending cards to people, Christmas cards, with the scariest thing on the cover. So there might be a dead bird. Usually it's a dead wren, because the blackbirds are seen as positive stuff, and the wren was seen as negative force, and that could be because he's around during the winter, and in the winter, you can't do anything, everything goes wrong. Your roof leaks, whatever. And
blame it on the little wren.
we changed that in the 70s, isn't that 60s and 70s when they put the red cardinal?
I haven't seen all
that kind of feeling.
Yeah, they like the shock factor, I think, with old toads and things like that. I think they just wanted to get the most extreme reactions. And now we would look at that and go, so what?
Oh, I know, it's hilarious.
Really, it's a frog.
But did I know, right? A frog on a card. I never understood that.
Yeah.
Were they performing seances more often during Christmas?
Yes, they were, because of course the Fox sisters, which are Canadian, in 1848 were faked noises very easy by cracking their knuckles. And so anyway, but that started people off thinking, oh, we can talk to the dead too. And so therefore they started with the seances. And the seances went until after World War I. They were very strong in World War I.
Yeah.
And they were very strong in the mid 1880s. But then the Society for Psychical Research was founded, and it kind of died off a little bit. It became more private. People, not everybody would know who the medium is or where they live or whatever.
No, but they were more shunned after that as well, and seen.
Yeah,
and it
wasn't until the First World War that they were brought back, and then because 10 million soldiers died.
That's incredible.
It became a hot business. Yeah.
What's that?
It became like a commodity almost.
Yeah.
Until Harry Houdini came along. So I'm going to debunk you all.
Yep.
So he was one of your first real skeptics, right?
Yep. He was. There's some of the ones, the first guys, and their names always, this isn't tonight, their name is always mixed. I mixed the three names up, but there were three investigators. One was Prince, was his last name, and that would go around to particularly for poltergeists and stuff like that. And so yeah, they did attack the whole idea of spiritualism. So if it hadn't been for the First World War, it probably would have died, by the time 1900 came around, Yeah, it was because the skeptics were just, the demand for it wasn't as much as it was, and the skeptics were getting stronger and a hard ass on them. So
that's about the same time that they would have been really hard on the Romani, which gypsy is a horrible word, but they were very intuitive and into fortune telling. Not all charlatans. Let's put that out there. I mean, they were quite gifted, these people, and they knew how to survive and move around. I mean, they don't get enough credit, but did they have any influence on these traditions with the stories? Like the Romani? I mean, I know they made it to the UK. We know that because of Peaky Blinders. Yeah. Thank you, Cillian Murphy. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure. I don't remember if I ever reading that it affected. But I'm off. But knowing human nature, in some way, it did, and I'm sure a lot of seances were done on Christmas and Christmas Eve.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we love stories. We love being scared and everything, and that's another reason that Christmas horror is our Halloween. It's because that's when the fields and grounds are covered with snow, and you're forced to stay in the house most of the time. And actually, there's one of the monsters that likes that because then he can burst in the door and grab everybody at once. And so,
is that Mr. Krampus?
He's the most well known, but this was another guy with an unpronounceable name, and so I'm almost certain that and somewhere I'm sure there's somebody has done a study on that, but no, it would have been done definitely, especially if everybody's talking about ghost stories. What's more natural? Go look for a ghost or bring a ghost here.
Especially on a cold night, when you're by the fireplace and you're in the dark. Because back in the day, let's face it, not all places had electricity. In your cold winter nights, you had longer, colder nights. And again, there's a healthy belief throughout, the ancient world believed that this was the time where the spirits were more active, not so much October. In some parts of the world that have never even heard of Halloween.
Yeah.
No. Right.
It's funny. It's a Western invention or North American invention. And
I thought it was pagan.
The thing is
the solstices, not so much Halloween, but in Ireland, they had the turnips. That's pretty cool.
Because I think
a lot of turnips,
I think the whole horror thing with winter really works is because snow muffles sound between the layers as it falls, so you hear that whole sound of silence thing, and that's creepy too, especially at night, and all you can hear is your boots crunching down as you're walking. So every little thing would send shivers up your spine, every little twig crackling or whatever, the little noises.
I still hear, if I hear footsteps through kind of icy snow, it has this internal thing that been programmed to be very nervous of it and leave, just because, of course, way back when we were just jumped off the trees and that if there was somebody we didn't know, we were very afraid of. But so if you they would do the same thing if this kind of thing would affect them, and especially back then it was much stronger. Now, of course, it's various people have it, but it's not, completely around the world. The Halloween stuff, for some reason, and I mainly think it's because of the fact of the Victorian time and the 1800s and everybody loving ghost stories and those periodicals playing it up. And, it just took over, and they got, and see, Halloween, that was because of the All Saints Day and All Souls Day that came afterwards.
Right.
And so the Christians wanted to grab Halloween and make it into something else. So we got All Hallows Eve, and they went back to the pagans, and they let some pagan stuff come through, and then other stuff that like burning of a person on a fire, and certain things like that.
Well,
they didn't like that, and so they banned that.
Right.
And but yeah, so Halloween is a strange thing, and when because of the like I said, the Victorians loved ghost stories. Here was across the water. Perfect things that they could use, over in Britain. And, because there was a lot of people going back and forth, and not just settlers and that. And so, so anybody that would come back with ghost stories. And so it all melded together, the Christmas traditions and, some of the Halloween stuff. And it's amazing. Now, this isn't all of England. There's different places, and you're in European, Central Europe, also
Norway has some great ones.
Into creepy shit.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, come on. If you think about Norway, you had Odin and his steeds, that would just sweep across the sky, and if he saw you, he could scoop you up and take you away, and but these are all the same thing that got incorporated into Christmas with the reindeers and leaving food out and for the reindeers and things like that. So I love how the ancient stories got incorporated into more modern day stories. And I think the Victorians were instrumental in that because they kept that dark tradition alive.
Yep. They just loved and were obsessed with death. I'm sure somebody's done I haven't had time to do the research on that. If I teach the history of ghosts next month, I'm going to include that as a section. And but yeah, because of this, obsession with death, because of a lot of stories that were written, and there were a lot of people that were faked. And you've got all kinds, Spring Heel Jack, for instance, and
yes,
all over the place. 1795 was some guy went around putting a knife into women's buttocks while they were walking on the street, and I can't think of his name. But I have got the book. It's right over there. So anyway, this guy was kind of, he had a fetish, needless to say. And so, so they speak of it. When I was reading that book, they thought he was a supernatural monster. Jack the Ripper instantly was supernatural, because within 3 days, a book came out, something of Mitre Square, Curse of Mitre Square. And they took Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddowes was killed, and they would not only just lead people around for tours, that started early, but they wrote a book. And so the Curse of Mitre Square, and it was about a monk who met demonic forces. And that, by the way, was a very common thing in literature, in Victorian literature. That. And so anyway, he went with the devil. And who am I talking about? Oh yeah, Curse of Mitre Square.
Right.
God, it usually does not bother me. It never usually bothers me at all. But there's one time that it put me to sleep almost instantly, and then there's 2 other times, this one, that I can't seem to keep things together.
The muscle relaxant, they knock me out.
Well, none of them did. I've had lots of muscle relaxants, and they never did, and these never did. But I'm trying to think about. Oh yeah, it's probably Dancing with the Lorazepam, because I took a lorazepam.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
here, so,
yeah. So I'm impressed that you've remembered as much as you have, to be honest. And I think tomorrow you're going to wake up and go, "Did I do a show?" The funny thing is, I believe with that author and writing about the square and everything, that was just a way of making money off of a tragedy in his own cruel way. Because we all know Ripper was a serial killer. But that is crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, crazy things happen. Spring Hill Jack, and then there was that's why, by the way, Jack was a famous name to give to people you didn't know their real name. Yeah, and people would take the name Jack.
Like John Joe.
That's why it's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
and so they would. God, I'm having another brain fart. Oh my dear!
And it's an hour ahead for you, right?
Oh, yes, it was Strange Things in England. Yes. So you had Spring Hill Jack, and then you had these the Devon footprints that looked like hoof prints. So of course they thought it was the Satan on the go. And then you had the Hammersmith ghost, the Plaistow ghost, 50 Berkeley Square, which I kill to get into because it's the most evil house in the world. And although others on TV, of course, have tried to say theirs is, but 50 Berkeley Square has a very intense and scary story. And so, yeah, people couldn't stay there. They were certain that there were demons there. So yeah, the whole story is good to read up on. Yeah. I keep fiddling with my Christmas hat because it's driving my hair crazy.
Driving the hair crazy. I like that. No, I think the interest in death and paranormal and Christmas, when you were kicked off for a little bit, do you know that there are all kinds of haunted stories and sightings of Santa Claus who's not so jovial, just saying. And we were talking about the fact that could he be an actual, like a tulpa? Was he a thought form that you think could have been created? Because you've got millions and billions of people who believe in Santa. And then you've got this like kind of crotchety man, just showing up and scaring kids.
Yeah.
Or adults.
The tulpas I find interesting. That's the Phillips experiment in Ontario, which Elliot and I are always teasing each other about. I don't believe they can work because we know of them by now. There's a lot of people that are obsessed with stars or obsessed with or lonely and that. And so I mean, Timothy Chalamet and I would be dating if I could create it by my mind. I can't. And I said that Tuesday. They were talking about. We were talking about ghosts, of course, in graveyards and stuff. And I dropped a couple things about this in there and said that I was going to be doing this. And so anyway, damn it. And so, so they were talking about ghosts in the graveyards and that. And I said, they asked me, what's your opinion? And you should never ask me what's your opinion. So I said, all they're doing is a form of masturbation. They go out, they have a great time, they have fun, it's exciting. Then they come home and absolutely nothing's been done. It's not real, and absolutely nothing's been done.
Right.
So
what are people seeing then?
What
are people seeing? With things like Slender Man and the Santa stories. This is a man.
Slender Man, we know was came out of
chat room,
one of the channels, and it's not real. So it goes. That's a perfect. And I, being an analyst, that's perfect for me because I follow how it did that. How Chupacabra in 1995, it wasn't known anywhere except for a couple, places off in the island of Puerto Rico. And then suddenly this film crew needed something exciting on because they couldn't get what they were looking for. And so they brought Chupacabra and away we go. Right. And people often will see what they want to see, and if it's ambiguous, you'll put your. It's happened to me. If I'm expecting somebody might come, and for a split second or so, I might see them as somebody else. And it's just the brain just not doing what it's supposed to do, or it just can't handle handle that, and so it takes. It doesn't know what it is. It's ambiguous.
It's
a
thought
scary location.
Right.
The brain is already primed to see things, and so since we know tulpas are not real, I would have to say probably the creepy Santa Clauses, which I like, by the way. Oh yeah, I wonder why I never went. I've got old Joey fellow here, but I had a really tall, made from like the 1800s type of one, and it was a skinny, scary Santa.
Right.
How did I lose that in the move? That would have been so extremely important. I would put it in a box or something. It got put in I keep thinking it was put in the garbage bag. There's a few things I think went in the garbage bag, because I had a garbage bag and a regular bag in the living room, and I had stuff on the floor. I had put the stuff in the garbage bag. There was just the stuff on the floor. I can't remember who did it, but they walked up and said, "Oh, is this garbage too?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm going to keep that and go." But I bet you they mixed up the bags on the way to this apartment. So I'm going to haunt them this Christmas.
Yes. Yes. There's some good glad tidings right there, isn't it? So,
fascinating for me when I was doing this or reviewing this, actually, because, like I said, I did 25 years ago, and you just don't have time to go deeply into it. But what I found fascinating was that January 26th, all the way to what we call New Year's Day, was often a pagan festival. And it had, again, to do with that's when they were, taking the fire, extinguishing the fire in their place, taking the fire to probably a graveyard where they'd have talk or dance or whatever they do, and then come back, extinguish that fire, come back and go into their house and relight their fireplace, and that would symbolize the end of one year and the beginning of another.
Right.
And so it's funny how Christianity just co-opted what was already there, and most times they co-opted the dates if they could, and so made certain saint so and so on a date that was might be important to somebody who's Celtic or something like that, right? So,
well, as they took over, different territories and in places, they amalgamated their traditions made it their own, tweaked it to fit their own belief system. I mean, I'm appreciative that they at least kept some of those traditions, even if they tweaked them, because we may not have. I mean, we may have been to a point where nothing would have been known otherwise, because even after a while, oral tradition ceases to be when the belief system is forcibly changed, and as the generations go by, it's less and less and less.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
It's
interesting that you said about ceremonies, and one went right through my head. I said, I'll tell her that after she stops. And of course, it's right out of my head. So has something to do with those ceremonies.
Yeah.
Just right. Anyway, but it had something to do with. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just making reference to what you were talking about, with the fire and the flame, and you had these dark nights, and you had people would switch their shoes backwards and put their coats on backwards to make it look like they were walking away from, ghosts and
ghosts, or dwelling.
Yeah,
so
like
the spirits couldn't see them.
Yeah, exactly. So the extent of what they went to try to avoid being seen on this night and going through, like they did this into what? Like, I think it was until after the Christmas, like until the 27th or something of December. Like they had these, 3 or 4 nights where they were very, very cautious.
Boxing
Well,
Day.
you see, one of the monsters in England had the power to raise the dead, and that was supposed to happen during that period, and so that's why the shoes on backwards and all the garlic and some of the old Slavic stuff came in. Because they were just too afraid. I mean, in winter you're pretty much locked in your house, and that's good because you're kind of keeping the world out. But it's not that good if that person can sneak in. Then you have a problem with getting out of the house. So, yeah. And now in Nova Scotia, stories like that or situations like that, of course, brought forerunners, especially in Cape Breton, banshees or something. Somebody would see something that would happen maybe 30 years later, and or it happened 3 days later. It's so that's very related. When I was hearing about them, the other thing, it reminded me so much about. God, can I go to sleep? So much about forerunners. Yes, that's it. Oh yeah, I'm doing a great job tonight, aren't I?
You're amongst friends. So, well, if you look back to some of these monsters, so to speak, some of them were pretty comical, but some of them, like the 13-year-old lads who were like tricksters. And
I like
cause all kind of mischief for like 12 days, 12 to the 24th, right?
One at a time would go
right
for 13 days before Christmas.
Right.
And what they did, I mean, later on they made them more merry, but originally they were not merry. They were very cruel and punishing. If if nothing was, if your kitchen wasn't totally clean, if the house wasn't, wasn't in good condition, it wasn't swept, that kind of thing. God forbid you see dust on the, on the mantelpiece.
Right.
And so anyway, they were, that's what they were. And just like Sasquatch was at one time seen as a very violent and danger to humans. Now, of course, as a mascot and the brand name for so many different, things, bowling alleys. The one time in my life I got a strike rather, was in Memphrey Magog when I was on for a lake monster tradition.
Right.
And so anyway, that's when they say, "I'll grab the ball and we're going to, demonstrate how everybody is." We were going around to all the places I had the name of Memphrey. And so I did. It was the one with the 3 holes. I did strike. And so anyway, they said, "Oh my God, do it again." I said, "No, every sportsman should know when it's time to retire while they're on the top."
Right. Exactly.
And I never did throw a second one, but yeah. So.
Right. What's your take on? They had the guy that called the spoon lickers. They would just steal spoons to lick the food off. This is like an old, like an old creepy tradition to scare kids.
I was going to say, was that to make
sausage swipers? They would just steal sausage.
What the hell is that?
I know, but and then a Christmas cat. Everybody loves a Christmas cat.
What?
Yeah.
Never heard of the Christmas cat.
Yeah, he had these like razor-like teeth, and he would consume any child who didn't receive new clothes for Christmas. Like it's the kids' fault.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They're all about scaring kids so they'll go to bed on time and they'll do what their parents say.
Right.
And so that's why it's why it's utilized and was done, just because they couldn't keep their kids in line. So hey, if you don't, this supernatural monster is going to come kick your butt. And so anyway, did very good. But I mean, I don't know which one does not scare the crap out of people. I'm trying to go over my old notes where I wrote even worse than I do today. And I have a lot of notes. Oh, I forgot to mention about the house with new houses where the staff moved around, came into a new house and all that. Yeah. They also, because of the fact that there was, because of the fact that there was often carbon monoxide in the home, people would hallucinate and see what wasn't there. So that plays a part. Infrasound can play a part. So you'd have to know where the people that were outside, where they were, if they were near water. I think meteorology plays a role in this kind of stuff, but I don't know, and I don't have the resource to do know. But I think there's a lot of connections and everything, and also they banished the trolls. These are different trolls. These are Gaelic trolls, and in Ireland, they banished the trolls with a ceremony very much similar to the one the Hallow Miss. Yeah, I'll call it Hallow Miss. The amalgamation of those two. But the cat, I had notes because I remember I love cats, and I had notes about her somewhere. But no, don't have it. Nope. Oh well. But anyway, yes, the cat. I like the idea of the cat.
Yes. Well, I mean, if the parents didn't buy clothes for the kids, they were just looked at as loafers. You didn't work. You didn't, and the cat apparently frowned upon this and would eat the children. So the tale goes. I know, right? Like that's pretty grim and dire, honestly. It's just
and child services was born.
I know.
Wow.
But I love the whole burning away of the year, because it was a cleansing of evil spirits, and but you had to dust your whole place, like get rid of all the bad omens, everything, all the dust from your house had to go in the fire and burn.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like saging.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like saging. Just burning the incense. You're just burning away all that dust. It comes back to fire and cleansing. So it's sort of that
fire creates dust too.
Remains.
Yeah. Okay. Or that. So we can go with that. Sure. Just throw like Uncle Bob in the fire by accident. Ashes.
He
Sorry.
didn't give you enough for Christmas.
But yeah, right. You'd have to be pretty careful. But again, they're just like all of these traditions going back from pre-Middle Ages. I think they started really keeping track of them. And the indigenous people were the ones with their oral history, and ancient people with their oral history. And now, I mean, we have the Victorians, and that comes to a stop. So what do we have now? Like what's
reality TV?
Yeah, I guess so. Like how far has that come? Creepy nights around a fire, cleansing and out with the old, in with the new, which I guess we do at New Year's now, not so much at solstice anymore.
Yeah, there are echoes of these traditions that, existed for hundreds of years, if not 1,000 or so years. Mm-hmm. So they're there. All the echo or the original spirit of it is still there. Mm-hmm. It's just it's been modified though to be more accessible, less dangerous. And Krampus, when they have the Krampus ceremonies in Austria and Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, the Czech Federation or whatever it is.
Czech Republic.
And so anyway, they have Krampus, of course, and he comes up and he goes to kids and he steals their hats. I don't know if they ever get their hats back, and he slaps them and all this stuff. He's not very nice. And then following him, of course, is whichever evil person of that particular year is, and so they'd be following, and they would be nasty. I was very surprised at how Santa always had an evil doer
which
with
was
him.
Krampus, right?
Yeah, which was Krampus. Right. But there were other ones as well. There was a second one that showed up every now and then, and but mostly it was Krampus. And at night, after all this is done, they have a run. Everybody dressed up as Krampus, and then you have to do a marathon thing, and it's fun to see. And there's I had to review a lot of videos, from YouTube on this subject because of the fact that I've seen them for years, and I said I want to see what's in there and compare to what's on Wikipedia and see if it if it's true. Try to get a second, because I wouldn't want to come online here and say something crazy.
I'm the same. I cross-reference stuff to death.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the old thing, check again, and check harder.
That's right. Multiple times.
Now it's fine for us to make mistakes in folklore and the paranormal when we're telling stories about it. It's fine for us to make a mistake. But it's God, what is wrong with me today?
I'd say you're free flying.
Nobody's ever going to ask me again to go on radio.
No, we're just going to ask you if you took anything before you come on. That's all we're going to ask.
I had to take the muscle relaxant and lay down for an hour.
Oh, I understand that. I have sciatica. I get that pain.
And yes, and this chair here, that's a wooden chair, and it is the most uncomfortable chair they ever made in the world.
Yeah.
Even with two thick pillows under it.
Sciatica is nasty.
I got rid of mine with one session of laser treatment. Bam.
You're lucky.
After a year, that laser just settled that nerve down. Never had a problem again, and it's been at least 20 years. So,
they're deciding what to do with it for my sciatica, because there's been degeneration in the. Anyway, it's pushing on the nerve more, and they might want to do an operation, and I'm not too keen about that. Now, what you just said sounds okay, and of course they can also stick you with steroids as well. And I go through every other thing before I go through. Although there would always be the possibility of having a near-death experience, so
Well, that could be interesting. Dolly is a nurse.
Yeah, but you can't say
that. Oh, it's true. We can't.
No.
We have to watch. We can't give medical advice.
No.
So I'm just not going to say
Sorry,
it.
Dolly, but he can read it, I hope.
He can read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You two won't like that. So we'll behave. No. There we go.
Well, everybody's show will be gone.
So do you know what the oldest surviving ghost story of ancient lore is?
The researchers will say it's
really old times. It's way back.
Yeah, it's in the Bible, and it's about 6,000 years from here, and that's the fact. Then they found out that the Sumerians have been around 12 to 20,000 years, and so when they used hieroglyphics on the wall, so they have seen images that seem to be constructed in a way to inform people, maybe warn people that you should be careful when you're here because of the fact of this guy. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely how long ghost stories have been around, and I'll bet ghost stories go well back after we began to have language. But if the Neanderthals had some form of primitive language, maybe they could talk over, what's going on. And maybe they even, since death was so spiritual to them, they may have done what humans usually do, make up a nice story. And so
Bob was a great guy, but somebody saw
unless
about last
unless
night.
we find, hieroglyphics, it's just not gonna,
But maybe they started ghost stories because they actually saw them.
And that's a good possibility.
Really
I like that theory.
Yeah. It's a really simple answer.
So we have to take a station sponsor ID because we're a few minutes over.
Yeah, you are listening to the... No, I was waiting.
We're too late back now.
I should open up the wine. Really,
you can do that.
No, you're good.
Really go crazy.
We're good. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Darroche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 and 107.7 FM radio, as well as the Roku channel, live and archived. Our special guest tonight is Dr. Darryll Walsh, and we are talking about everything you think Victorian, but it goes even further back than that with the Christmas horror stories, traditions, and all of those monsters from the different cultures. Yep, you heard me. Monsters at Christmas. Krampus, one of them. If you're just tuning in, no worries. You can stream our archives on any platform you normally use. Just remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm. Don't forget to share us with your friends and family. Thank you, Folgers Coffee, for your continued support and sponsoring our show from day one. We are hitting 400 episodes Wednesday. You got that. 400. Michelle's done 400. Thank you so much for your support. Our fabulous banner and promo media. Thank you, Steve McGinnis, our illustrator, amazing artist. He also creates commission pieces. Michelle, did you say pets as well?
Pets as well, yeah.
Wow, I like that. And you can find him on Facebook and Instagram, and Google search him as well, and you'll be able to see a lot of his pieces. He is an incredible artist, as you can see from all of our promo media. Loving our intro and outro. That is a big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon. Justin Snicker is an award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Stream on any platform. Again, you can find him anywhere. And as I've been stating the last few weeks, use his little clips in your stories and add a nice touch to what you're putting out there on your own social media. You can find Dr. Snick again on Facebook and Instagram. He's posting his creepy, they're little because you're time restrained, but they're not little. They're epic clips that match his composed amazing music, and they're fabulous.
Creepy.
They're really creepy.
Halloween sort of Christmas music as well.
Yes, he does. Darryll. Hello Christmas. Yep.
Yeah, he does. He
does right now. And now, if you're watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube right now, please, right now, because you're going to forget. And I know it. We love you. We need your support. We know you're out there. We see our stats, but we need that showing, please, for us. Make sure to give us a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification so you don't miss anything. And don't forget to share with your friends and family. And be kind.
Be kind. Grr.
Be kind.
And we're back.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
You look very laid back tonight. Maybe I'm not the only one with a muscle relaxant.
Me?
No, not you, Michelle.
I was gonna say I'm always like this.
I'm always like,
yeah.
I think I'm just like absorbing some of your relaxed energy. So,
it's also the last show.
One of the, what is stated, one of the for sure researched oldest ghost stories is the lore of Beowulf, which was believed to have been written around the 6th century. Considered to be a pagan tale written down by Christian monks, and the author was an anonymous Anglo-Saxon poet. It's a story of a Scandinavian prince who fights the monster Grendel. And that would be considered an actual ghost story, which is a little bit unusual to me.
Beowulf with Angelina Jolie?
I would never have thought that, Grendel was a ghost. Yeah. So
yeah, it's always mentioned. That one, you know, and I don't know what started it. Maybe they were having Christmas and decided to make up a story.
I've never heard of that.
I know. I don't know.
Like people do this at campfires and Halloween. They sit around and create stories. So if you bring most of Halloween with you into Christmas, that's sitting around the hearth in the house. Mm-hmm. And you make up stories.
So instead of
they
serial
never
killer,
done it on their own. It was Halloween that prime them to do it. I'm sorry, Amelia. I cut.
No, don't apologize. I'm sorry I cut in. I'm just saying. So instead of like Freddy Krueger, we've got Santa.
Well, Santa can be pretty badass. I'm just saying. Like, let me just.
Well, St. Nicholas was evil too. I mean, some of the things he did. Yeah, I mean, he was evil. They didn't really like kids unless they were fried. No, unless they were. If I ate his liver and fava beans. How did that go with the that tail?
I don't know, but
I had
hanging now after you make that kind of
with his liver.
And I was in a liquor store once and said what he said. I ate his liver and something in a nice Chianti. Yeah. And so anyway, I said that. I said that to the woman who knew me, and
she didn't come back.
Yeah, she was just laughing. It was, yeah.
Like, oh, Daryll.
Are
you massive relaxers
That's
again?
the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
That's not Santa. Yeah. Although I think Anthony Hopkins would make a fabulous Bubble Natale. Just saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he'd make a great Santa Claus of the older tradition. Not the Coca-Cola, rendition.
Yeah.
If he was more of a more of an evil, punishing kind of Santa, then I think that would be, he could pull that off easy. I don't think he could pull off comedy, but he's done very well.
Yeah, those were also the days that they actually had cocaine in Coke.
Yeah.
So let's just put that out there as to why, Santa looked so kind of weird.
They're very colorful, if you notice, for the time, because there are very few dyes that you could use. And that's why in Patrick Stewart's A Christmas Carol, when he's young, his girlfriend comes in and she's in this buttercup yellow.
Yeah, I don't like that one either.
And it's bright, and it's meant to be that, so everybody will look at her. But the thing is, that color didn't exist.
I didn't like that one.
Yeah, in fact, one just didn't exist. They're dull. They're real ones are very dull. But there's probably a few pictures in there that have less.
I think one of the scariest things in Victorian Christmas was lighting candles on a flipping real tree. I thought it was kind of crazy. Talk about a horror. What were they thinking?
I can remember being a kid and Mom and Dad did that.
No.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
You're not even. Oh, wow.
That's like the art of living dangerously. I think it's beautiful, personally.
No,
but oh my goodness,
not me.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, there weren't a lot of them.
I got way too much product in my hair.
Tree wet. You had to make sure the tree always had lots of water, because you certainly didn't want to have
That's true.
No,
don't let the tree dry out. No, that's actually a good point.
A candle falling for me. It's not even the tree being lit. There's so many of them, and they're not stable. You're not even supposed to leave a candle in a room and walk out. The biggest contributor to house fires is candles. Ask any firefighter. Now think about that tree.
Yes,
something catches on a drape. It's always by a curtain. It's always by a window.
Yeah, of course.
In the damn
Christmas
cards.
Take out the whole dwelling.
Yeah, it's just scary.
Especially if it was before houses got to be, stronger and thicker and well built. Their houses sometimes were just a little more than, larger, shed or something, barn. Right. And if that caught fire, the tree caught fire, well, that's it for the dwelling.
The Victorian homes always had those big velvet drapes, and they would put these trees in the window, and it just went, and the chemicals they used back then too. This is a lot of. I went through a lot of sacrifices.
Like the lead in the paint.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones that put the lead in the paint. Yeah, well, that's why paint lasted so long, right? And children chewed on it. On their cribs.
But all I know is the things that they did back then, it's like they went from these amazing traditions, and like you say, after World War I, everything seemed to die down. And then it's just like everything seemed to die down when it came to, and I get it, war times, of course, but it's like, why do you think there was never any kind of, well, I mean, the resurgence came around the Ghostbuster era, in the 80s, right? Yeah. Then people became interested again, but other parts of the world, they were always interested.
Yeah. Yes, it was weird over here. And Hollywood played a part. I think Hollywood's, although they had monsters in sci-fi, in particular, and stuff like that. And, but actual ghost stories, there's the usual one where there's a young bride of a slightly older man, and she thinks he's going to kill her in this house. And, there's a lot of that that's told.
Oh, and Dorian Gray.
Yeah. And, people don't realize that it's called socialization. And that's what we do when we're young. That's what parents are supposed to do. Tell us how to be. Don't do bad things, and all when you should do good things and blah, 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 blah. And but the thing is, that doesn't really stop. And psychology, we know people will model other behaviors. And as reality TV has pointed out, very, very extensively, really bad TV shows with crappy science. It's not even science, not even remotely science. It's technological, but it's certainly not science. So you get that, so people go with whatever's the hot thing. That's when they'll go.
I feel like the magic of Christmas and the commercialization came in absolutely with technology, but also after the Holocaust. I mean, there was a world division amongst people, and some people stopped practicing because they were afraid to show religion, or, because Christmas was seen as Christian, so they had some fear. I think a lot of that weighed on the way things changed. Yeah. And then into the 50s, when we started having nicer cars rather than mind you, I think the 1940s, the cars were fab, but I think the technology, the refrigerator, all that stuff, it started to become commercial as to what do we buy mom for Christmas. They always would, point to the, what's it called? Like the appliances. It became that kind of thing. It became about gifts rather than connection. You want me to read this? I know what this means, but I will read it.
He's completely right. Yeah.
Yes, the term gaslighting actually came out of when homes were being lit with large gas lights throughout the house. The fumes would often cause people in the home to see and hear things that weren't true.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. It's like EMF today.
Yeah.
I was just trying to find some old notes that I had, and Windows decided to do an update.
You've got to love that.
We've been there. We've had updates. Yeah,
it happens
right in the middle of the show.
All the time.
The last 2 weeks have been nothing but pushing a huge rock up a hill.
Right. It is retrograde, Daryl.
Yeah, and it keeps. I put it up on top, but next day it's back down. So that's the kind of 2 weeks I've had, and it's.
I hope it gets better for you.
But I should. I hope so. I hope. I get two Christmas dinners I get 2 Christmas dinners on Christmas Day.
Oh, so that's a bonus right there.
That's a bonus, and you'll be able to sleep without the muscle relaxants after that.
Yeah,
I know. Turkey coma.
I think you need a good night's rest.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I usually do get a very good night's, as long as it's not warm. Do you want me to tell you about the ghosts that are in my house or my apartment?
Let's do that. We have a few minutes.
Okay. All right.
Tell us your Christmas tale.
Back in the day, one of my cousins used to use my grandmother's rocking chair. He went off to war, and nobody really used the chair very much. But one day, it started to rock by itself, and it did it for 4 days. And in 4 days, the notification came to my grandmother saying, "I'm sorry, Augustine died," and then the thing stopped. So when Uncle Aloysius, who was the last person to own that house, I said to Mom, "I get the rocking chair." And it's right over there. I wish I could show you. I got clothes thrown on it. And people have asked me if it's, if it has ever rocked on its own. And no, it hasn't. I mean, I can't even get the living in my bedroom, let alone the dead.
Right.
But so anyway, and so the other two came together. One was a monk dressed in black, and he reminded me very much of when I was a kid. And this black figure would be following me down the Bedford Highway. It would start at home, and so it would always be a figure following me behind me. So he came back and stood. There's a slight, tiny little hall before the bedroom opens up. He was standing at that threshold, and then my most favorite thing in the world, my most chilling hallucination happened. A big black dog with glowing red eyes ran across my bedroom.
Like one-headed?
No, one-headed, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, then I saw another ghost at the Westin Hotel in Nova Scotia, in downtown Halifax. And the funny thing is, I walked into the room, and it was terrible. I had to get out of that room. I couldn't stay very long because of just the feeling. And I'm not the only one. We put other people through the room too. And even Elliot took like 3 steps, and then he felt like he was being pushed back. So when I turned to get out of the room, I see a little boy, about 5 years old, white shirt, khaki shorts. Can't tell you what the blonde, can't tell you what the sneakers were. Anyway, he was lifting up the the covering of the table and going under, and I could see the covering of the table at the same time as I saw him pick it up and go under the table. And so it took me a few minutes to get the idea, why don't you go look under the table? But it was my first time. I think it was probably one of the things about infrasound or electromagnetic or something that triggered the feelings.
Right.
The ghost might or might not be connected to the feelings. But as a parapsychologist, I failed miserably. I did not because at that time, there might have been, if we go into their life and they come into our life, there has to be an exchange of atmospheres and various things, because it's impossible to jump to another dimension or whatever. So there would be, even though the little boy's gone, there would still be traces if something like that happened.
Like an
and I should have picked up the equipment, went back at that dining table, and saw if anything was around. But no, I screwed up. That's first time, and just failed. I know, but because people in England, really good ghost hunters, original ghost hunters like Peter Underhill and that. He was 45 in doing it for 45 years at the time that he gave this speech, and he had not seen a single ghost in the 45 years in the most haunted country in the world. So it's not obviously a common thing, but unless you see it with your eyes, that's why I say the equipment won't. The equipment can only tell you what the atmosphere is like, and you hope that you get something. You're not getting the ghost. You're trying to get the effect of the portal. It's called a portal. That's what you're trying to get, and. But you forget the ghost. You either see him or you don't. And if you don't see him, it's not a ghost. So it's fascinating. And the whole thing about, when I found out about Christmas traditions of this kind and the different creatures that they have, Krampus, and all the different ones, the Slavics, I can't pronounce the words, but they're the ones that started with the raising of the dead, vampires, zombies. It all came from Central and Eastern Europe, in the Balkans in particular, and it made its way over here. And so
I think as people migrated here, they brought those traditions with them, right?
Well, yeah, same with the Ukrainians, and also with the is it the Icelanders that came in? In Winnipeg? Yes, and they have some really cool stories
That's really
as well.
Good ones, I know. I wish we had more time because
I'm just getting going now.
Yeah, unfortunately, our time's going to shut us all off.
I know they're going to pop us off.
Here I am actually talking intelligently for 5 minutes, and now it's going to be.
It's all worn off, and you're ready to go.
It's like when I was doing repeating an action, so the cinematographer could take a picture and put a voice over this particular. I had to walk up 3 stairs and go to a table and say something. So I did it 6 times. The 6th time was perfect and on. Best ever I did of acting. And I walked down and I asked him, I said, "How is it?" He said, he said, "That's not I just needed the audio, And he cut me off when I was on my roll,
going on, the Captain Morgan stance, the whole 9 yards, and they just wanted your audio.
Yeah, don't drive me crazy, but that was my most fun time actually at that haunted museum in Wolfville. And I'd like to go back, and I want to go back to our old cases from the late 90s and early 2000s and contact people and see if I can track them down, see what's going on. So it can be useful for Ghost Project Canada too. So
that would be interesting.
Yeah,
I think to go back. I think that's the best thing when they go back. You rarely see that anymore.
Yeah, do a follow-up. And years later, and just see it. Yeah, it'd be fascinating to actually see their response if they do respond. Is the house still bothering them? Are they still living in the house? Or did it drive them out? It wasn't a dangerous spirit, but it was an annoying one. So people didn't like.
Annoying can be just as annoying. It's just as bad. So tell everybody what do you have coming up, and promote yourself before we're coming up to the top of the hour. So where can people find you, and what do you have coming up that they can partake in or catch you in?
Well, I'm not sure what's coming up.
Nice.
But I am doing things to raise my profile again, because once I was called Canada's Ghostbuster, and by the Ottawa Citizen, and so there was a time when how to put this, I was kind of like a hot whatever,
a hot tamale,
and I was able to think up documentaries and all that. So the pandemic, anyway, 10 years of mom getting sick and dying, and then the pandemic kind of ruined what I was going to do. I was going to go to Loch Ness, then I was going to Iceland because of all the museums and Lake Monster they have there. Then come back here to Lake Ainsley and Lake Utopia in New Brunswick, and then there was an American trip I was going to make, and I was going to stream part of it and all this thing, and get into social media in a big way. I had, but not as big, because I just don't remember. I've got so many things to put up on my WordPress, the various ones, but right now I'm more concerned about Ghost Project Canada, and that's where we gather all the stories that we can. Any event that's supernatural, paranormal, strange, doesn't matter what it is, you can send it into ghostprojectcanada.com, or that's our thing, or ghostprojectcanada@gmail.com, and you can send us. And also to any of the ghost hunters out there, if you have interesting things, I'd like to have your cases as well, but not for publication. It'll be held strictly confidential, and you should take out any elements that might say it was a particular family or whatever. So if
privacy issues.
Yeah, if there's a haunted house, you can say it's in Westmount, but you can't say it's on 51 Convoy Street or something. So please send in your stories in that. And so that's we're going to take that, analyze that, send it up to all federal archives and all the provincial archives, and then we're doing the states. We're already actually dipping our toe in the states, and then UK, and I'm not sure which one's going to drive me crazy. So that's just so many.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm sure you get a lot of submissions.
Oh God, if I don't, I don't remember. I'm working with a travel agency to do tours of haunted castles in Ireland first, and then in Scotland.
Very nice.
And is there any way that you can put the name up after the show?
Why don't you send it to me and I will put it in the show description?
Yeah. Okay.
I can do that.
Because it's really funny. In fact, at the Paranormal Symposium, Kathy sold the ticket downstairs when she walked into the hotel and already sold a ticket to go next spring. And that's going to be really good. It's going to be good to get back into the thing. I'm doing things like this, which I love to do and would love to be like on the other side as well. And and on TV as well. So I'm easy with everything. And I want to.
2024 is going to be your year.
I hope so.
I hope so too. It sounds like you're going to be off to a great start, and you have a really great project coming along. And of course, you're going to stay in touch with us, so we see what you have coming up. Right?
Yes, I certainly will. I just haven't planned. I've been, like I said, this month has been so bad with frustrations. I mean, things breaking, things not being where they're supposed to be, those 5-minute jobs that you end up spending 2 hours doing, all that stuff going through the last 2 weeks that I haven't even thought about, other than I'm going to write a ghost story book, and I have to update my near-death experiences book. Other than that, I haven't thought forward, and I have to look and see what's going on in the year, next year, and see if what we could do with it. So
I hope you will stay in touch, and I hope you will keep us updated with some of the things you have coming up, and join us again. And
oh God, yes, anytime. You can call me. Yeah, as long as you give me an hour's notice to do the lighting, which you can tell is not very good.
That works.
Okay, mine died while we were on.
My professional lighting is in storage 3 floors down. And I didn't want to bring them up and then set up the whole thing. And I said I can try to do this with the ambient lighting. So I kind of went with the gold and it's actually, if I turn it on, it'll look red, but the gold and white, and then of course 2 strings.
It looks festive, and that's what we need.
Look at that. Wow.
Look at that. Fantastic.
Yep. No monsters there.
There we go. Plugging it in. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, the camera doesn't take it very well, but but it's there, so it looks very beautiful.
Nice.
We've got it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. People are chiming off.
Yeah.
Well,
and I want to thank them too. I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, as much as I did. Once my brain got connected.
Once I figured out what was going on, it was great, right? I know. You'll be okay, and we'll do it again. And I hope you have a really terrific Christmas. And of course, I'll be in touch, and you be in touch too.
Studying this, Michelle, put me in the Christmas spirit. By studying it, looking over at my old notes and trying the more recent things, because I love comparisons. Right. I'm an analyst after all. And doing this put me in the Christmas spirit.
It's my favorite time of year.
I love it.
Last night it was as if I was back 1980, and because I can remember Christmas from the 80s very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, the room was still the room, but my mind kind of overlaid it with relation to the bedroom. And it was wonderful. And I was in such a calm, relaxed, happy mood.
Right.
And I don't remember the last time that ever happened to me. It was before 2000.
Focus on
It was
Christmas.
before 2008 when Dad died.
It's a season, and the best way to honor them is to celebrate them and keep them in the holidays with us. Yeah. I've lost both my parents, so I understand.
Yeah. It's weird because I lost Mom when I was 55, and she and I am writing a book called 55 is Too Old to Lose Your Parents, because you've had them too long. They've been in your life, directly in your life, for way too long. So, 55 is too young to be an orphan. That's what it was. Yeah.
Right. I agree.
But anyway, I throw things when I think of them. I throw things on the, on the thing, mostly about how I've made the transition and failed so far until recently. I'm much better than I was, but yeah. So anyway, we'll see you later.
Have a good Christmas.
Yeah,
and we'll
Merry
be in
Christmas.
All right, darling. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, sweetie.
Well, that was a super interesting evening, to say the least. He's always a hoot, though, and just so charming. I love him. But big thank you to Dr. Darryll Walsh. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee. Big thank you to Dr. Snick and Steve McGinnis. Guys, thank you guys, because again, you make it that much more interesting. We really appreciate your support. And next week, before we chime off before next week's and the holidays, tune in again on Wednesday, because we welcome for the very first time Chris Jordan, who's going to be discussing the benefits of using frequencies for meditation, kind of like brainwave entrainment and consciousness expansion. So we're going to be nice and lighthearted next week. And then Thursday is going to bring the very last open mic night of 2023 in celebration of our 400th episode, which will be the night before, technically. But we're going to do some recapping. We're going to be talking about what's coming up. We're going to be just, jamming with you guys and hanging out, because that's one of our most favorite shows to do, is to just be laid back and hang with you guys. So have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you're celebrating, do it safely and come back to us next week. So good night, guys.